Welcome everyone, my name is Will White. I'm the Executive Director of the Workforce Equity Initiative Program. I'm here with Antigone Sherris, who's the Chair of the Engineering Technology Department. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We are in the fabrication lab and we'll be talking about the welding program. So Antigone, can you briefly tell me about the welding certificate program?
Our welding certificate program has 4 courses in it. One of them is in MIG, one of them is in TIG. We have one in fabrication, which is done in this room. And the other one is in engineering graphics, where they learn to do the drawing, the measuring, the reading of blueprints, so that they're prepared for any opportunity out in the marketplace.
Wow, sounds like you cover a lot. So when you look at study time, how much study time is required to get through these programs?
If you're taking all 4 classes at the same time, it's like a full-time job. I always like to say that for every hour in class, you have 2 hours out of class. When it comes to the welding specific courses, those 2 classes, we do give them out of classroom time in the welding lab when that time needs to be done. In the beginning, like any curriculum, in the beginning it's lecture, so we cover the basics, and then we get into the lab component, and then we're pretty much in the lab the rest of the semester. And that's when we give them extra time outside of lab. But as for the other 2 classes, depending on what's going on, the drawing class can be done at home, so their homework is all from the beginning on, all the way through the end of the semester. And for the fabrication, it's also mixed bag, where they've got homework, which is more the book, I call it the book work, but it's really not book work, because we don't use a textbook per se. We use content knowledge from across all different companies, and when we look at online, we teach them how to find information online, so they become good, let's say, hunters and gatherers of content that's going to help them professionally, because companies don't run on a book, they run on what we need to solve a problem. So let's go solve it. So teaching them to become independent and autonomous for searching of information is the #1 priority of the program.
Wow, sounds like a broad scope of information that you cover. So with all that information, what types of jobs would somebody be prepared for once they complete the certificate?
Welding is a piece of the equation for many jobs out there, whether it's as a fabricator, where you're designing and building product. Maybe you might not be designing it, but you're building a product, so you're problem solving in the shop to figure out how to make something. Custom work, any of the custom manufacturers in the area that are dealing with non-standard products. You've got the actual maintenance and repair of equipment that involves possibly, an arm breaks off of a piece of equipment, so you got to weld that back on, so you need to understand the metallurgy of the product so that when you weld it back on, it doesn't fracture and break off again. So maintenance is one of the areas. Design and build is another area. And of course the welding itself. There are positions, for example, we've got the pipe fitters down south. They've hired from our ranks. One of our students just got picked up yesterday, in fact, and it's wonderful that our students can go anywhere with the content knowledge they get from this certificate.
Nice. So it sounds like there's a theoretical component, then obviously a practical hands-on component.
Yes.
What challenges do you see your students facing while going through this welding program?
The #1 challenge is not appreciating that there's a theoretical component, because they think that all they have to do is weld. And the reality is 99% of the jobs out there, if you go and look at Career Builder or any of the employers, any job, any place that does any type of build, when they say they want a welder, it's never just, I want you to stand there and weld. I don't need you to know how to read drawings. I don't need you to know how to read. No. It's literally, you got to know how to read a drawing. You got to know how to do basic math, addition, subtraction, multiplication. You got to know how to fit up and troubleshoot your product. Nothing is as simple as, I'm just going to stand there and weld. That's called a robot. And yes, we are going to robotic welding, but not with this set of students. This is the beginning sequence. Ultimately, our students can and will, in a couple of years, be able to get into robotic welding. And yeah, there's a whole technology component that's coming up the ranks when it comes to welding.
Got it.
They have to have that core understanding of the fundamentals of measuring things, making sure they fit correctly. Otherwise, the company's not going to be able to. They might hire them up front, but they won't retain them.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And our goal is retention and moving up the ranks, not just I got a job and 2 days later I'm out. That's not the intent.
Yeah, considering the certificate is so comprehensive, are there any prerequisites that are required, such as certificates like the AWS certificate?
The nice part is no. That's the best part because we have encapsulated everything into the curriculum that they need to know. We give them all the content knowledge they need to know to be good and ready to rock and roll at an interview, including making products that are worth bringing to an interview. So we don't make them just do T-joints and lap joints no, we actually have them build actual products. They have to do sketches, they gotta do a Gantt chart, they gotta do a cost estimation. We make them do everything because the more they understand that welding is part of a business, the better they're gonna be in a business, including their own.
And you bring up bringing something to an interview. What do we have? What do we have here? What is this exactly?
That is one of the projects in our core project in our TIG class. We literally make them weld out of 040 steel, so it's pretty thick material to be honest. But they learn how to do corners on the welds, and they have to go in a radius, which is one of the more complex weld situations. They learn about fit up, as you can tell, fit up. Not perfect, right? But that's the process. Once they learn how to do these things and they get better at this, and they do, it's amazing from the start of this project to the end of this project how much better they become as welders because they are trying to achieve the right look, how this product is supposed to be. Some students nail it, some do not, but the point is this is the learning process. The best part is they can actually show this to a potential employer. It's small, it's physically easy to carry over to a basic employer to show them, hey, this is an example of my work. It's not perfect, that's one of the things I always tell the students, but life's not perfect. So don't sit there and say, I can't show this to an employer because it's not perfect. And my answer to them is what in life is.
Yeah, and something like this infinity cube can seem a bit overwhelming at first, but it seems like you don't start with this. You start with...
You're right. You're right. We start with giving them basics. They do learn the basic welding operations of butt welds, like I said, and those basic ones are in the beginning. And then when we get this project, before they even touch this, we have them build it out of wood. And that way they can visualize what they want to make, and this is called a prototype. So we teach them to prototype because in our world, on the manufacturing side, we're always doing prototypes. We never start with final copy because it's too expensive. We have to think through what it is that we want to build, and then we build it. And this is how we do it because everything's visual in the program and it's hands-on.
Got it. Okay, and this sounds intriguing for those students or potential students who may be interested in the program. What advice do you have for those potential welding students?
If you, how shall I phrase this? If you take what we teach you to heart, I guarantee you the opportunities in the marketplace will be there. You can get into many positions that previously were denied you because you don't have a portfolio of work that is worthy of getting into those positions. I don't want you in an entry level just like a welder position that all you're doing is quote unquote welding. They don't pay as well as the upper level positions that want a fabricator. Because a fabricator will get paid more than somebody who's literally only welding. So fabricator is where the real market opportunities are and the wage gains are in fabrication, not in just literally the act of welding. They're in maintenance, they're in the design side. There's a whole market that's available to you when you realize that this is just a piece of the equation, not the point.
Got it. And we'll show you all the welding lab. But before we do that, being that's the age of COVID, and obviously the students will be working with saws and fire and a lot of dangerous things. What precautions do you take to ensure the safety of the students?
They have to wear their PPE. We literally will not let a student in the room if they're not properly dressed. So when it comes down to, we're in the shop now, we're in the correct kind of clothing, the correct kind of shoes. If they're not dressed correctly, they're not allowed in the lab. It's in the syllabus. And the reality is that's how it is at work. It's kind of like you came unprepared to be at work. And we tell them, if you don't come prepared to class, you're not coming prepared for work. If you're not coming prepared for work, that's a day's wage you're going to lose So you better get accustomed to bringing your gear. And if we don't use it that particular day, so what? If it's a summer and you want to wear your shorts, fine, wear your shorts. But when you come in here, you're in jeans. You're not in shorts anymore. No flip-flops. You're not allowed in this place without the proper gear. And of course, just like we are right now, they have to wear their masks, which is no problem. Yes, I do continually remind them to put their masks on.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sheriff, I want to thank you for reviewing the welding program with us. So let's take a look at the lab.